Alright, so I think I have this recording set up correctly. So there's a couple different ways that I found that dynamic lighting works in Roll20 so far. So I have three tokens here. So one of my players, Harley, who's playing a human wizard. I have Rory, who's playing an Alsamar paladin. You'll see there's some things, shade going that way. And then we have a human bard who has the dancing lights cantrip in her repertoire. Harley does not have any form of light in her repertoire of spells. So dancing lights is going to act as a torch as well, just for purposes. I'm going to jump over to dynamic lighting right now. So I have all of these trees marked. This is just a generic battle map that I have for the Jolt campaign. It's like, oh, combat in a forest / field type of thing. And I like the idea that they could be wandering through this way, and they see something happening up ahead, or they hear something happening up ahead. But that's beside the point. So we're going to jump back to objects and tokens so I can show you how this stuff is set up. So Harley, when I double click, I'm going to go to advanced, make sure it has sight. It does not emit any light radius. And we can close that. Allowen over here, go to advanced, has sight and emits light. Now, as long as all players see light is not ticked, it will mean that only Allowen has the light source. Meaning this is a way to code dark vision if you want the dark vision to look like how I'm going to show you in a moment. Then if we go over to Rory, specifically, let me close Allowen. Let me make sure this is Rory. Yeah. All right. So Rory has 60 and 30. You can do this 60. Let's do 60-40, and we'll change it halfway through. Inside the info for the page settings, if you want to use this setup of the emits light, has sight, all players see, or all players don't see, you need to have dynamic lighting not set up on this tab, but set up in page details. You scroll down to dynamic lighting, you click enabled, enforce line of sight, and only update on drop. Only update on drop is just a nice quality of life thing, meaning that when I'm running the game, my player can't pick up their token and just hover it around different areas of the map to try to peek around corners a little bit, where GMs can't see that the token's moving yet, because the GM will only see when the token gets dropped. So I set it to only update on drop, so I know if they're trying to peek around lines of sight or something like that. So there's that. Darkness, opacity, you can just see there if you want. So I'm going to show you this first, and then we're going to go over to the other dynamic lighting tab. So I'm using the shortcut Control L to view as a token. So Rory is moving around with the dark vision that I've set up for Rory. Now, her line of sight is being enforced by being blocked by all of these tree chunks. I gave her 60, and I made it feel as 40 feet of bright and 20 foot of dim. So if I jump her over to here, we can measure that out. So 40 is going to be to the edge of the tree, and then another 20 is going to put us to here. So right to the edge of that. And now if we go back to Rory, Control L, 40 feet to the edge of the tree, 5, 10, 15, 20, and you can just barely see the outside edge. Now if I jump over to Allowen, I have Allowen set to emit light the same way. Now if I change Allowen settings real quick to all players see light, and I believe dancing lights is 20 feet, light radius is 40, and it's 20-20. If I shift double click, it'll open a thing. Cancel. That's supposed to open. Oh, it's because I've edited the token. That's why. So let's double check dancing lights real quick. Just make sure. Bright 10, dim 20. Okay. Oh, each light sheds only 10. So I'm going to set it as 10 and 10 just so we can actually see what it looks like. So total is 20. Bright light, or the start of the dim light, is at 10 feet. So it's not actually dancing lights. We can interpret this as a torch. Now, as long as we make sure all players see light and save changes, when I click on Rory and hit Control L to view as Rory, so you have Rory's sight, and then Allowen's down here holding a torch, so to speak. So we can see that. Now, if I switch off Rory and go to Harley, who doesn't have anything set, Harley can only see Alwyn. And what's really cool is if I put Alwyn here, it also casts shadows from Alwyn's perspective that Harley can't see. Because Harley can't see... Harley can't see this section, that spot right there, because the shadow is cast by it. So everything's between Harley's line of sight looking past the tree here and the shadow cast by the light. That's why I like the system a little bit better. Now the other way that we can set everything up is if we go into the jungle clearing settings again and go over to the dynamic lighting tab and toggle it on, jump back and look at page details, it automatically unchecks that. It's the other way that dynamic lighting is set up. Daylight mode's right there, explorer mode. I like to update when token drops, so just that we have that there, and click OK. So you're going to see all these shadows disappear. I'm not sure how to set up enforced line of sight on this other dynamic token line. So we're going to double check Rory again. All of this doesn't matter anymore. We still want to make sure the token is clicked to have sight, but that's about it. Dynamic lighting, just so that way, depending on whatever map is set up, if one of the maps is set up a different way, you're good. People are going to at least be able to see from the token. We go to dynamic lighting, and we look at vision. We make sure vision is toggled on. And I have all of my players' tokens set up to automatically have vision toggled on. Gives the ability to see if there's light or night vision enabled. Tokens with vision can see to the edge of the available light. The reason I have that is otherwise I drop a token onto a dark map or even a non-dark map and they can't see if dynamic lighting is toggled. So let me show you that real quick. So we're going to take vision off of Rory for a second. I know what her night vision is anyway. Click Save Changes. Now I go to Rory and Control L. Rory can't see anything. Even if I go to dynamic lighting and turn on daylight mode, Rory still can't see anything because the token doesn't actually have sight. So we need to make sure she has sight. Night vision 60. All right. Let's turn back off daylight mode. All right. So now you'll see this is how Rory's night vision looks model like that. So we have 10, 20, 40, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 to the edge of the line of sight. And what I like to do is I've set up, so this is the default tint color, save changes. So it's as if, and you see as I move Rory around, she's not able to see anything else. It only changes her night vision when the token gets dropped onto a hex or a square. But I like to add this tint color. So if I want to, let's say I want to add, let's see, red. Okay, maybe it's red. And red might be a cool effect to totally differentiate it as like this night vision, heat vision type of thing if you really want to play it up, because then you can see this palatable difference between red, which sort of mutes so many colors, and Alwyn, whose token in the dynamic lighting tab does not have night vision, but does emit light 10 feet and 10 feet. So 5, 10, 5, 10. And if I move Alwyn around a little bit, you'll see that edge right there. See the mouse on the lowest tree right there. You'll see it move a little bit for the 10 feet and 10 feet. So unlike the other tab where you do total and then where dim starts, the dynamic lighting tab on each token has the low light and bright light stacked on top of each other. So if you want the low light to be set further out, you just do bright to this distance and then low light beyond that. If I remove token emits light and I remove the bright light entirely, she will only emit 10 feet of dim light. So if you're setting up like dancing lights tokens, you just make one dancing light token so that people can copy and paste, that the player can copy and paste it, and you set it to emit dim light 10 feet in that dynamic tab. And you would also set it in this, all players see light has sight. All players see light does not have sight because you don't want your player to be able to see from the dancing light. So let's do that real quick. Let's say a torch. I think it's on this tab, yeah. So let's grab a torch. This will work perfect. Right there, awesome. So if I set this up as advanced, all players see light, 10 feet, and start of dim light is as 0. the dynamic lighting tab on not vision, token emits light, low light, 10 feet, save changes. Now it will move around, but if I switch to Allowen, Allowen can only see what it illuminates the light as. If I think I can block it also, but Allowen's not able to see up this way from the token, even if something's blocking it. So even if Allowen has moves dancing lights around a corner, she can't actually see around the corner if there's something on the dynamic lighting layer that's blocking the line of sight from her token, as long as you don't give the dancing light the vision or the has sight. Just set it to all players see light. I actually really like the idea of having this set as red. So if we jump back to Tint Color, let's actually view through Rory's eyes real quick. So we have Allowen carrying around a few dancing baubles of light above her head. And I'm actually going to set this a little bit higher to, say, 15. Low light distance, we'll say 15. So it's saying total light 25, because even if I turn that off, then when I turn it, it's weird. It said it before, but 15. There we go. So imagining that she's floating the baubles in the 4 spaces around her, here, 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 and here, so to speak. So she'd have there 5, 10, so on and so forth. But if we go to Rory, I can show you what some of the other tints look like. So save changes, makes it gray. I don't know why it closed that. You can add a blue tint to it. Blue doesn't show too much, but let's try dark blue. Dark blue kind of looks cool, like it sort of grays everything out. And you can definitely see how it affects Harley, who is normally a much more bright token when you look at it from Rory's perspective. So depending on how you do it, maybe purple. Now you can also sharpen, so watch what happens to the leaves here when I change it. Didn't do too much. There we go. All right, I removed the tint. So if I turn off sharpen, it mutes everything. It fixes the edges. I prefer the tint. There's green. That definitely mutes a whole bunch of stuff. So you could change the tint depending on what type of environment we're in, but you could leave it as is. So I honestly think maybe the burgundy, maybe that's the right call. Yeah, look at that. Because then you know, so now if we set Rory to emit light as well, so dynamic lighting, token emits light, bright light, we'll say 10 feet. Let's say Rory's holding a torch, and 10 feet. So this is what's really cool about the dynamic lighting tab. I'm not sure how to set the things to block the trees. Now Rory has a torch and can see color in that radius around her, but can see beyond it out to her night vision, which is out here on the 60 feet. But you get a clear distinction where the torchlight ends and the dark vision takes over, and color is lost at that point. Now, I as the GM in this game can see when I select Rory, it moves with her. I can see what her overlay is. If I go to Allowen and give her night vision, we'll say 40, and we'll give her a tint of green, save changes, I can then see Allowen's as well. And I believe that is set up by this tab, darkness opacity. So I can set it higher. And then I can still see over here even though the players can't. So I know what my players are looking at. I know that Harley is just on the outside of Allowen's range there, and just on the outside of Rory's light, where Rory can actually see color. So you could use this, for example, Rory can tell that Allowen just got splashed by acid. Allowen might only think that Rory can tell that Harley got splashed by acid because it's a green liquid. But Allowen, who can just see Rory with her dark vision can only tell that Harley has been splashed by a liquid. So you can set it up that way. You can change the opacity lower for the darkness. Let's put it to 40, because then you can still see everything around the corner. The other thing I think you're able to set up as well is the light multiplier. Changes the effective radius of light for this player. Setting with 200% will let this player see light from twice its set radius. So you can adjust that. I haven't even played with that at all. But that's the way that I've figured out how to set up light in the thing. Now the big thing that you want to make sure that you do, so we've made a bunch of changes. So let's cancel that. Let's delete Alloy. Now if I go over here and pull Alloy back out of the thing, you'll see it doesn't update with any of those changes. So I'm going to delete Alloy. I'm going to delete Harley. Let's because I'm going to actually set Rory. That's why you don't want to use two of the same color, but you can match it to whatever color we decide to set, because you can control this yourself if you want to. So we're going to take a look at Rory. Dynamic lighting, 60 feet. We're going to take off the token emits light, because you can toggle this on the fly also. You can have it preset on every character for a torch, which I think is 10 and 20, if I remember correctly. So let's have Rory preset as if she's carrying a torch. So that way, when I have her played in my campaign later, I can have it. I don't like the Sharpen. It does weird stuff. But advanced, we're going to see all players see light. We're not going to have that set. We're going to set it to 60, just like that. And the reason we're going to set it, I'm going to delete that token, is we're going to go here and we're going to switch this. We're going to switch this real quick just to double check how I have it set up the other way in case I need to use the dynamic lighting tab. So now when I go to Rory, Rory has all of her 60 feet of dark vision. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. And dynamic lighting is off because because the map doesn't have the dynamic lighting tab enabled. None of these features matter. It's only these features about the emits light, has sight, stuff like that. So I personally prefer the dynamic lighting tab because you can set this tint, you can play with the light emitting it, especially because night vision doesn't actually have a distance fall off where it gets more difficult. It just is defaulted from darkness to dim light, so all you have to do is add a tint and then you know what it is. So let me hit cancel. Let me change this back to the dynamic lighting tab. Update. Anytime you change this, you'll have to readjust it. So now we have Rory set up. But if we pull Rory number 2 out of there, you'll see Rory number 2 updates this, but let's refresh the page. Rory number 2, and I hit Control L. It doesn't actually change anything because she's not tinted. All she has right now is the night vision, even if this one's already saved. So once the token is entirely set up, and to make sure that it always pulls out the exact same way, I'm going to go to Rory. I'm going to edit her sheet. And now I'm going to make sure that this token is set up exactly how I want. I'm going to have vision enabled. Make sure it's enabled on both has sight 60 because that would be our dark vision if one of my pages is set up without the dynamic lighting tab. It's just set up as advanced. Make sure it has sight either way. Now I personally like all of this. She should be at compact. I don't know why she's not. So actually we'll show a side-by-side comparison. Throw this Rory down here. Yeah, I don't know why she's not at compact. So we're going to set her to compact, bottom overlapping, basic. We're going to show nameplate so that way everyone can see what it is. I like this bar. The reason I like the compact is it doesn't show numbers. So my player, Alwyn, who's the bard, might be able to see, oh, Rory's hurt, but not know exact numbers. So it gives a little bit more of the... You could see that your allies are hurt and they need to be healed, but you're not quite sure if you should use a second level cure wounds or a mass cure wounds and help the whole party. You're not sure exactly the numbers type of thing. It gives a little bit of realism to it that I'm not a big fan of my players talking about on a scale of 1 to 52. I'm a 26 right now. It's a little bit immersive breaking. It's just like, no, I'm really hurt, and they can see that bar no matter what. Because as long as you can make sure the bar is clicked to see, you can set it there. So I have all of that set up. Aura, I'm not changing any of that. You can edit that. But so Rory's also a paladin, so I could set an aura and give her an aura of 10 feet and set that to blue. So now anytime anyone in that aura, let's set it to like a. So now Rory knows that anytime anyone's in that aura, they get the benefit of her bonus on save. So it's a nice visual reminder if you want to. But we're going to turn that off for now. And all I have to do is do that, remove that. Okay, there we go. So we're going to, let's say, keep this red dynamic lighting. Be a nice, cool effect. All right, so everything is set. Make sure that we're preset for our torch, which is going to be 10 and 20. Save changes. Going to turn them back off. Save changes. Now if I go back to dynamic lighting and I toggle them on, they should come on automatically. All right, low light doesn't set up automatically. That's dumb. But that's fine. That's an easy fix. That's the easiest way to set a torch. It's just 1020, I believe. Make sure sight's on. Make sure sight's on. Like vision, night vision, and the tint. Save changes. Now I'm going to remove Rory's token from the sheet. And I got to that by double-clicking on Rory, going to edit, and removing the token. Oh, that's cool. It jumped over. So now I'm going to select the token that has all of my presets made, including... and I specifically set up all my players like this. Their current health, their AC, and their passive perception. So that way, if I click on Rory's token, I know exactly what her passive perception is at any given moment. And because I can see the tint, I'll know if I need to give her a -5 to that passive perception because of the darkness, dim light sight, basically. So then after I make sure all that's set up, I select a token and you select a token. Now, if I delete this Rory token, save changes, I might have just fucked that up. Edit. No, token's there. And pull out Rory token, boom. Shows health bar, but does not show numbers. Shows the nameplate so that way everyone can see, oh, that's Rory. Oh, that's so-and-so. I can... her health are automatically set as full, mind you, on the drag over. I see her AC. I see her passive perception. So if maybe there's a creature that is stealth over here, I know that she's relying on her dark vision. So her passive, instead of being a 10, it's actually a 5. And they just have to be the 10, and they can successfully hide from her behind this tree or something. And I have all of the tokens set up like that. I pull out Alowin, she's set up. I pull out Elmeryn, he's set. Elmeryn's stats aren't set yet. He still needs to send me a sheet. I pull out Rory's mount because Fine Steed, Dyer, and Dyer's set up. Dyer needs to be adjusted to the dynamic lighting. So do that right now. 60 feet. We'll set him to a nice green. Yeah. It's a little bit much. I wish the tint had better options. About that. Too bright. Let's go with a Control L. Yeah, the green's not great on a forest matte. Say orange. There we go. Orange works great. And that's our. And now if we go to Rory, that's our Rory sees. Now Rory has control of Dyer, so Rory's gonna see that. I'm gonna see that overlap, but Rory wouldn't see that overlap unless I let that player have control of both tokens, which they would. But all of them are pulled out to automatically have all of this stuff set up. So if I open Dyer, we'll do the exact same thing. Edit, remove token, yes, delete. Make sure I click the token, use selected token, save changes, delete this token from the map, pull out another Dyer token, and we will double check. Health, AC, passive perception, advanced, dynamic lighting on 60 feet. Boom, done. So I know it's exactly set up how I want it. The other thing that I did, at least, I don't know why that that showed there. There we go. The other thing that I like to do, at least for my game, is I changed the third bar from red because I have green for health, blue for perception, and or blue for armor. So you could set the blue one to like gray. Ooh, that one should be white. This one should be gray, or maybe the third one should be opaque or translucent like that. So now if I pull out Rory, it doesn't show anything, but that's the passive. So I can interpret that as I see through it, so that's passive. Gray, it's armor. Armor is gray. Green is health. Health is green. So I like having a setup like that instead of red and green, which are both sort of health colors depending on video games that we've each played. So that's how I have dark vision, passive perception, emits light, all of that stuff set up in game. I hope this is helpful. This was way longer than I was anticipating, but this dynamic lighting tab is wonderful, and having it set to update token on drop is awesome. And you can really scale it up if you want to, and totally remove. Now, I set the opacity much higher. I as the GM get sight from all of the tokens, so sometimes having it set higher is kind of nice because if I have, let's get Dyer out here also, I have sight from all of the tokens. I know there's goblins down here, let's say. I can see from both of the tokens that none of them can see the goblins down here at all. But if Dyer goes to here, even though Rory can't see them, I know that now Dyer has seen the goblins down here with Dyer's dark vision, but has seen the goblins. So sometimes this opacity is nice because it lets you know when to tell your players that they've seen something or when not. On top of the GM layers, we scroll all the way over. Let's delete Rory, delete Dyer, set this opacity a little bit higher again because I don't want my maps to be dark as shit. There we go. Let's jump all the way over to Tomb of the Nine Gods. There's darkness in this one. So if I want to have Rory here, Tomb of the Nine Gods, where am I? Oh, of course I'm not set up. Vault of Reflection. Dynamic lighting's not turned on. So I'm going to turn on dynamic lighting. Turn on update on token drop. Turn on, move the opacity up to about 50%. Click OK. Now I know that Rory can see into these areas, can barely see around these corners, maybe sees that. But because it's dark vision, that secret door that's right there that I can see in the GM layer, Rory's only looking for that secret door with a passive of 10 because she only has her dark vision right now. But if Rory's carrying a torch, let's say, we'll set the lighting torch 10, and let's say torches are 10. So she does not see it now, but let's say the DC for that's a 14, and she gets to here, 10 feet, 10 feet. It's within actual light. She's no longer, because that emits the torch emits dim light an additional 10 feet, but with dark vision you can see in dim light as if it were bright light. So you can basically interpret the torch as totally bright light. So that characters with dark vision make torches and stuff like that a lot easier because light is just light to them. If there's light, they can see it perfectly. If there's no light at all, it's considered dim, or it's outside their distance. So as soon as Rory gets to here, if this DC is only a 14, I know that Rory has seen that door because I have this light enabled, and I get, didn't mean to do that, and I get that GM overlay of everything. And let's drop Aloe in here. Aloe does not have sight because she can't see down here at all. So she's in darkness right now. If I click on Aloe she can't see a damn thing. If I get Rory to here, Alwyn might be able to see that door, but it's I know that Rory, it's still in darkness, so it's considered dim light for Rory. But it's 5, 10, 15, 20 away from Alwyn, or away from Rory, so it's barely getting dim light, so Alwyn would have disadvantage on her perception check. Passive would change from 15 to 10, and the DC is 14, hypothetically, so Alwyn can't see it yet until Rory steps up. Oh, Alwyn can see it. Actually, Rory would have to step to there, and then Alwyn would see it, and Rory would see it at the same time. Rory would be able to see it there, but Alwyn would not. So it's nice to have this GM layer, darkness, opacity, to just be able to see exactly, set it higher. So I know exactly what my players can see versus having to control L into each of them every time if I want to actually, oh, can you see something? Can you not see something? I'm not sure. Having this dark vision with the tint and being able to set the light, I know I can see everything in the dungeon. It's a little bit darker, but I can still see everything. I can see all my GM layers. I can see all my tips and tricks. I can see all the secret doors. I can see all my toggles and everything. I can, hell, I think if, oh, that's on the GM layer. So if I go to GM layer, shift double click, they see a Tomb Guardian in that corner right there. Boom, done. And I can show that to players. I don't want to actually show it because it'll go into their journal. But let's go back to token layer, objects and tokens. There we go. So it's nice to have this darkness opacity. It's nice to be able to set these tints. And if you want to, you just set them all as red or something. You could set it all. I think green or the other colors might work better in a tomb setting. Yeah, look at that. The blue looks great in a tomb. Green looks great. Green will probably look really good in the tomb as well. Even a pale green. Yeah, it sort of works. I'd stick away from the pale colors. You want like the vibrant ones. What about yellow? Yellow works great. Look at that. Like, that's fantastic. So Rory knows that the white is the torch and the yellow is dark vision. So Rory can see all of these things with almost all of these areas with dark vision, but the torch only extends in this radius right there. So you can play around with the different ones based on which setting, and you can change those tokens on the fly. You just don't have to save them back to the character. So you could set all of the characters that have dark vision to default. Let's see, purple looks like. Purple looks pretty cool, especially for an area like this where these are actually purple. If I remove everything, like, and Rory stands next to it with the torch, they are actually purple. So maybe I'd pick purple for the dark vision on this level. And then I can delete Rory token, elements in total darkness, bring Rory back out, and Rory will go back to being red. Boom, red. There we go. So that is darkness and the dynamic lighting update. It's really cool. It's makes your job so much easier, trust me. I hope this is helpful. Much longer video, but I think I went through everything.